Welcome to the Everyday is Saturday podcast, the #1 motivation show on the planet.
No more Mondays for you. It's time to make every day Saturday. Boom!
This is the podcast where we help you to accept who you are, not where you are.
On the roller coaster of life, you know we only sit in the front seat, champion. So make sure you are fastened in tight. Let's go!
Tired of feeling run down all the time during the week? We can help you make every day feel like it's a Saturday.
Let's go. Pack your bags. It's time to leave Averageville.
Introducing the man who thinks abnormal stands for above normal.
When you're on fire, people will travel from miles around to watch you burn, baby. We are fired up.
The host of the Everyday is Saturday show, Sam Crowley.
Hello, champion, and welcome back to the Everyday is Saturday podcast. So great to have you here on the show. Let's dive right in. Have you heard this before? Man, I really don't know what I want. I don't really know, let's say, what my purpose is, what to do, where to go, all those different things. Well, yeah, that's a tricky one. You know, I'm not even saying that's an easy answer, but I just want to share some thoughts today. Maybe it'll help. Harvest the best and throw away the rest of what you hear today. Hey, by the way, would you mind smashing that 5-star rating on iTunes? It helps amazing people like you find the show. Leave a review. I'll read it on the show. I just love the fans and love when you leave a review. I read every one, and it just, like I said, it just helps. It helps other people find the podcast. So, you know, I didn't know, and I'm not even, look, I'm 55 years old, and I'm still trying to redefine the things I do them better, explore, seeking, searching, learning. You're probably the same way, especially if you listen to this show. But I know what I didn't want to do. I know what was modeled to me. So, for example, love my mom. Always got to say that. Mom, R.I.P. My mom died July 7th, 1997. It's been a minute since I've had a conversation with my mom. Wish I could, but it's been 26 years. And my mom was a raging alcoholic. And I don't even blame her for that. This lady got dealt a hand I don't know many people would be able to navigate through. You know, dad leaves when I'm 3 months old. She's got to raise 8 kids by herself, turns to the bottle. There you go. You know, first thing I never wanted to do was become an alcoholic. I saw what it did to my mom. I remember one time she had to have surgery, one of many times I went to see her in the hospital. One time she got hit by a car just crossing the street, laid up for months. Another time she had a stroke. Another time she broke her hip. I mean, it's just nuts, just bad health. I mean, geez, I remember my 8th grade year, my mom fell asleep in a chair. She had been drinking, fell asleep in the chair. It was about 2 a.m. I barely heard a whisper. It's like, Sam. So I'm in 8th grade, you know. I mean, what do I know? I'm, 13 years old, 14 years old, something like that. And I went downstairs, and she's laying on the floor. She tried to get up out of her chair. I think she fell asleep, drunk. Tried to get up, broke her hip. I mean, that's how frail she was. The ambulance comes, takes her away. She's in the hospital for, I don't even remember, man. It was weeks, if not months. And, you know, there I am. Hey, how you doing? Got the house, 8th grade. All righty, what do we do? And you had neighbors checking us and things like that. But that winter, my mom got laid off from her job. So imagine that. You're laying in we had to have a hospital bed put in our living room. So my mom was laying in a hospital bed. Get in the mail, she gets a pink slip, like a literal pink slip. I didn't even know like that, those things. Hey, I got a pink slip. Well, no, when they laid you off back then in the 80s, in the 70s, they sent you a pink slip. And so, okay, so she's in a hospital bed, broken hip, laid off, no job, go on welfare. I mean, all of those things. And anyway, that's kind of a side. That should be another podcast. I think on the next podcast, I'm going to talk about one of the best Christmases ever, and it was that year. And you would think that's back-ass words. Like, that doesn't make any sense. How would that be the greatest Christmas? On next podcast, I'm going to talk about that. So whether it's later on today or tomorrow, I'm going to share with you the Christmas of it would have been 1981, I believe, and why that one meant so much. All right? So you can see there's kind of a lesson there. You think you've lost everything, but you really, what my mom modeled in relentlessness and perseverance was something that's just legendary. So anyway, that was one example. I don't want to be an alcoholic. I've gotten close. Not to being an alcoholic. I've never been somebody that woke up and needed a drink. Never. Not one time. And I swear to God, I've never woken up and said, oh, I need a drink. But there's been many times I do not remember the night before. And I'm talking about definitely college years, into my 20s, few times maybe in my 30s, and, I don't do that. I can't remember the last time. I don't remember. So when I go out, if I have alcohol, it's with my wife, we have a bottle of wine, or we go out to dinner, or it's with the guys on the golf course, all right? Manageable, but I'm always very cognizant of that little thing going on in the old Crowley family gene that I don't want to end up that way. All right, number one. So figuring out what I want to do with my life is more important to me, figuring out what I don't want to do, because I see how that has affected the people in my family tree. All right, and you can see it in your own. Look, I ain't the only one out there. I know there's things in your family you wish that you would not model. Again, like I said at the beginning of this podcast, relative to this audio, harvest the best, throw away the rest. Do that. With what you've seen as an example for you, harvest the best and just throw away the rest. I threw away the alcoholism. Have no interest in smoking. My mom smoked like a chimney, 3 packs a day. Probably led to the reason why she had a stroke. She had major blockage in her artery. She died in our living room, sitting on the couch with a cigarette between her index and middle finger, all right, burnt down. So that's how she was found, all right? So don't have any interest in smoking, which has led to my life in this personal development journey, which is not, I should really, maybe you have some information on this. Maybe do people who have childhoods like that go on a discovery in personal development? I think that would be an interesting question, because I don't know. I know that's what got me going. Like, I wanted to do a complete 180 with what I saw growing up, and see if it was even possible. Like, can a kid from Bradford, PA, single parent, not a lot of money, dropping out of college, can a kid like that better himself? I wonder if that's possible. Like, that's what I say. I wonder if that's possible. Those thoughts never really hit me till my early 30s. Embarrassingly enough, it took me till my 30s to actually even discover this thing called personal development. And I don't think there's a journey, and this is me speaking, okay, Sam Crowley, there's no journey in my life that does not involve conversations with God, all right? That without him, forget it. I'm dead. In so many ways. God he's been there to save me from disastrous decisions, helping work miracles in my life. I know he's done that for you as well, but I'm not here to convert you to Christianity. If you're not a Christian, I'm just saying none of this happens without my personal relationship with God and just knowing that he's been there. And he's not always there, look, to save you. I can tell you that as well. God's not always there to save you. You will have cataclysmic failures, but I think those are great learning lesson. So I have no interest in drinking, no interest in smoking, drinking to excess, by the way. I'll have a beer on my front porch in the summertime. It's one of my favorite things to do. I love bourbon. I love to crack a bottle of bourbon, sip it on my front porch, listening to yacht rock radio, and just watching the traffic go by. That's one of my favorite things to do. You know what I mean? So figuring out what I never wanted in my life and seeing if somehow I could reverse engineer all this stuff, it's been a pretty cool experiment. Ongoing. And I say ongoing because I don't even think I scratched the surface of a lot of this stuff. Having this podcast scared the living crap out of me 20 years ago. I did not want anybody to hear me speaking. Got a lot of negative feedback when I started, but only from the people who knew me. And then they went away. They're like, hey, what are you doing? What's this podcast? Why are you trying to be this motivational speaker? But okay, they were there for a minute. They're gone. What was left was a really great audience. People like yourself that plug into the show. I think I've done my best to just kind of be authentic, raw, not shocking by any stretch, but share thoughts every day with what does every day is Saturday mean? What's it mean to create a lifetime of Saturdays? Is it even possible? It's a mindset, I'll tell you that 100%, not a circumstance, all right? It's a mindset. It takes a lot of work. You have to battle a lot of demons. I have a lot of demons. I don't know anybody who doesn't. I know a lot of people who don't admit they do, but I don't know anybody who does not have demons. The enemy's always out there trying to attack you, usually as you're getting closer to a breakthrough or something that will bring you closer to God. The enemy's going to rattle all those lies in your head. I battle that all the time. So in this message, answering that question, what's the purpose? What's the reason we're here? And how do I really tap into that? And how do I do it? for me, like if we were hanging out and we were having a beer or we're Starbucks having a cup of coffee and somebody were to actually ask this of me, I would never give unsolicited advice. This podcast is just out there to try to help. You know what I mean? But I would never call somebody up and say, hey, I've got some advice for you. I know you didn't ask me. Because that's a pet peeve of mine. I say that all the time on the podcast. People that give unsolicited advice, major pet peeve of mine. If nobody asked for it, don't give it. But if somebody were to ask, I'd say, well, what were some of the negative things that were modeled to you in your childhood? Like, what are some of the things you saw? You're like, I don't ever want to be like that. I don't want to be poor. I don't want to be working for wages. I don't want to be an alcoholic. I don't want to take up vices like smoking. I don't want to be a negative person. Just things like that. Have you been able to battle any of that? Have you won any of those battles? You know, I don't think you're going to win the war. I think you win battle to battle to battle. And I do believe that every day, every week, every month, every year is a battle. You know, and I know the gurus out there would push back. I know I know they're pushing back. Oh, well, it's not a battle. Yeah, it is. Look, maybe not. For me, it is. All right. So like I said, for me, it is. It's a battle. I fight a battle every day, every week, every month, every year with all of these demons and all of these thoughts that go through my mind to make sure that I show up at least as best I can. All right. I know I'm going to piss some people off just for some of the things that I say, but I'm not here to be everybody's cup of tea. I'm just here to paint on a blank canvas and say, hey, is this possible? Just think, is it possible to quit a job, become a speaker, share a message, and build a movement? Do you think that's possible? You know, and if the answer is no, I would say, why would you say that? Why would you say it's not possible? Of course it's possible, but what would you have to do? Who would you have to become to make that happen? And then it goes back to, oh man, I got to fight that I got to win that one battle. You know, for me, one of the battles I had to win early on, I'm talking about in my 30s when I first got going into this entrepreneurial personal development type space, was I had to win the battle of caring what other people thought. That was a freaking battle. And I mean, all out. All going on in my head, by the way. It wasn't like a real battle where I was like, hey, we're going to fight for what you said about. No, it was just like, Sam, why do you care what those people think? Why would you ever give a shit? Like, why would you ever give 1 ounce of energy? And that was a battle. And I've won that battle over and over and over and over again, you know, because I realize it's about them. It ain't about me. Because I ain't the only one they're taking shots at. And by the way, it doesn't happen often. I'm not saying I'm out there always fighting this battle. But here's the thing. Here's the crazy part about it. Somebody may not even be thinking about you, but you're still worried about what they think about you. You know, does that make sense? Like, that's so wild. They don't even care. They're out living their life, and you're all wrapped up about what they might be thinking about you. They ain't thinking about you. That's the whole crazy part about it. So what was modeled to me, let me wrap this podcast up, you know, is not what I wanted to model to my kids. And if I can change the generation of Crowleys starting in this part of this millennium, all right, and it can change second and third and fourth generations, I won't even see the changes. I'm not going to be around. But if I can sow the seeds of that, that's the battle. I mean, I won. Even if it kind of changes the course a little bit from, you know, what I described to you of what it was like in my childhood. If I can change trajectory, and I've got one daughter graduate college, that's awesome, first generation. I've got 2 daughters in college now. I got a 9-year-old who was saved her life, given 2 hours to live. Now she's 9. I mean, come on, man. I feel like I already won. Like, seriously, if I took my last breath today and you never heard from me again, I win. I feel like I won. But if the good Lord keeps me around another 25 years, I'm going to keep fighting. And you should too. Life's worth fighting for. Discovering yourself, discovering this purpose and this passion, it's worth fighting for. Don't give up. Just don't do it. Don't give up. It's worth fighting for. It's so big. All right, so I hope that helped today. I hope it sowed a good in seed soil. I hope they sowed a good seed in good soil for you. And it's the day before Christmas. It's Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Season's greetings. I love everybody that has plugged into the Every Day is Saturday podcast, and we're just getting warmed up, baby. We are just getting warmed up coming into 2024. All right? Take care. Say it with me, gang. Have the best day ever. And that's a wrap. Another Everyday Saturday podcast in the books. Thanks so much for listening. Would you do your boy a favor? Would you get on iTunes or wherever you listen to the Everyday Saturday podcast and leave a rating for the show? It helps amazing people like you find the show faster. And that's what I'm looking for, amazing people like you. Hey, I'm always hanging out on the interwebs. You can check me out on Instagram at EverydayIsSaturday. Let me know you're listening to the show. Love hearing from fans of the Everyday Saturday podcast. And one last thing, when you're ready to launch, get on my calendar, go to launchwithsam.com. You and I are going to work together to set rocket fuel to your dream. Are you ready? Let's do it. I'll see you on the next Everyday is Saturday podcast.